What's going on, everybody? This is Hegi, and I wanted to give you guys an update on my crit freeze pulse Hegemony's Zo character. This character is now currently level 91. It only suffered through one death. As you can see, it's only died one time, and that was due to the Academy boss. And basically it came down to me playing a little bit sloppy, and I didn't read the map mods. It was just that a couple of times I did the double Academy boss, turbo, and I did a GMP, added fire, and something else, and I got pooped on. But anyways, let's go ahead and look at the gear. The gear's, for the most part, still the same. We have a dagger, which allows me to use whirling blades, 4 to 5 faster attacks, and that gives me another layer of defense. But on this dagger, we have 68 spell damage, 2 to 90 lightning damage to spells, and it's important that I get this 2 to 90 because it allows me to shock with Herald of Thunder. And GGG applied a patch recently that made it much harder to apply status ailments. So you have Freeze Pulse that has 125% damage effectiveness. This is one of the highest out of all the projectiles. It can really utilize any flat elemental damage you add to your weapon, or if you use something like the Anger Aura, that would be a pretty good DPS boost. Moving on to the jewelry pieces, you'll notice that we don't have any mana or mana regen or anything that deals with mana. I purposely avoided picking up those mods because those mods would be considered wasted, because I reserve all my mana with auras. So that leads us to the question, well, what do you want as a prefix? Actually, I want flat evasion on my rings with life and flat ES, or I could go with percent ES, but that is an Elrion mod that costs 1 Exalt. It's a bit expensive. But a lot of the gear is not really desired by most of the community because they're still trying to build around mana. And I was able to get these items for very cheap. And if you think about it, a lot of the suffixes on gear can greatly boost your damage. For example, we have my amulet, which increases cast speed, crit multiplier, and crit chance. If I had to give one of those up for mana regen, you could definitely see how much it would hinder my ability. Also, we have cold damage. You'll notice that I'm running Purity of the Elements. Now what this does is it puts less stress on the rares that I do choose to use and allows me to pick up Chaos Res. So I kind of call this my pseudo Chaos Resist aura. Running this made it very easy to index a lot of Chaos Resist pieces, and you can see it's just a simple 4 property item that I mastercrafted another res on it. So Chaos Resist achieved by both rings and my helmet allow me to have a 55% positive Chaos Resist in Merciless. That's pretty good. As you can see, my resists are 89, 92, 98. And if I remove the aura, I'm actually under 60, 63, and 69. And since I run 5 endurance charges, which you can get in any map, that also LE weak caps me, so I don't have to worry about that. I am not LE weak equilibrium capped, so when you do the volcano boss, you definitely want to be careful. But my rares have a lot of room for improvement, and once I improve the resist, I can actually run an Alpha Howl. Drop the Purity of the Elements, run an Alpha Howl, and run a level 20 Grace, which in this case would give me 73, 77 evasion. That's pretty good for a caster. And if I remove it, I lose the immune to freeze and the chill avoidance, but that's still a pretty respectable number to get for evasion, considering I can get up to 300 more evasion on just my rings combined. So people have been wondering about the phenomenon, what do we do about caster defenses? So I'll just talk about some of the defense I have on this character. I have almost 3k evasion, I have 5 endurance charges with a Chaos Brolem. I also have 23% chance to block since I'm using a shield. I'm using Arctic Armor, so that's both physical and fire damage mitigation when I'm not moving. It also drops Chilled Ground everywhere I run. It leaves a trail, makes it a lot easier for mobs to kite. When I'm taking damage or in the line of fire, I have Cast Wind damage taken at the lowest level so that I can proc GMP Arctic Breath and it pretty much just throws chilled ground in the direction which enemies are attacking me. It is also worth noting that Dodre's Elixir does damage to me. You take 10% of your maximum life as chaos damage. It is important to note that as your HP goes up, the amount of chaos damage does go up. But if you have good chaos res, it will do less damage and therefore not proc as often. At the negative chaos levels, you can pretty much see GMP Arctic Breath spray every single time you use Dodre's Elixir. On top of that, we have 34% movement speed. Movement speed I do consider as a defense, in addition to having Whirling Blades, of course. But we have 30% from Atziri step, and then I mastercrafted with a Divine Orb a prefix on my leather belt to give me 5% movement speed. Movement speed is probably one of the better enchants for this character, considering it's very expensive to YOLO fish for flat armor. So let's take a look at our effective health. We have 5708. Now, if you want to calculate what does this mean when you have mind over matter, how much life do you really have when you're at full energy shield? So you take 5708 and divide it by 0.7. That leaves you with a total of 8154. So you take 8154 and subtract it by your total health, 5708. That's 2446. So I have 2822 energy shield. I have enough to cover all my health in one hit. In fact, I have a little excess in energy shield. So we will take 2446, which is the mind over matter full HP one hit blow. Subtract that by 2822, which is my current energy shield, and I have 375.7 remaining. Now what does this mean? This means this is the hypothetical. What's the difference between if the energy shield was on my life or if it was on my mana? I have a 375 barrier, assuming that I was at full energy shield, where hybrid would be advantageous over mind over matter. But keep in mind that this is best case scenario if both energy shields were topped, and when you're Eldritch Battery, Mind Over Matter, Zealot's Oath, you are constantly regenning your energy shield back, whereas if you're a hybrid, you're either running Zealot's Oath and not having any life regen, or you're waiting for your energy shield cooldown recovery. And that's kind of like the way you just look at it overall. If you get to a certain point where your energy shield gets so high, that excess gap goes higher and higher. So it's not really so advantageous to stack massive amounts of energy shield in an Eldritch Battery, Mind Over Matter, Zealot's Oath combo. You kind of want to focus on other defenses, and in this case, I feel like Evasion is a great alternative. Go Evasion with Mind Over Matter, with some block, with some Arctic Armor, and physical mitigation through having your endurance charges always up. I think that's a great combination. So if you are going to run Eldritch Battery, Mind Over Matter, Zealot's Oath, I think it's important to cover the HP threshold to get one shot by your energy shield at the very minimum, and then strive to get around a 15 to 20% buffer above that, but not try to go too crazy with the energy shield pieces and get much higher values, because there will be a certain break point where you should just go hybrid instead. Keep in mind your energy shield is also your battery, so you're going to be spending skills, but you're also going to be regenning them at a very rapid rate, and Enduring Cry with increased duration helps facilitate that. In fact, this character standalone with just 5 endurance charges has 172.5 energy shield per second, and when I cast Enduring Cry, I get a burst of 546.5. So you ask me, where does this regen come from? Mainly, it's enabled by the use of the chest piece, the Restless Ward Carnal Armor, which gives me 18.7 life regeneration per second per endurance charge. So since I'm running 5 charges, this could give me up to 120 life regen per second. In addition, I'm also running Sanctity, which also gives me 1% life regen per second. We have Quick Recovery, which gives me 0.8. And lastly on the tree, we have Heart of Oak, which also gives me 1% life regen in addition to avoid being stunned and max life. I think it's important to attach the support gem increased duration with Enduring Cry because it allows that 374 life regeneration per second, that surge which originally lasts 0.75 seconds to last 1.29 seconds. So that's very, very good. And also this is not leveled up and this is not max quality, so it could go even higher than that. But this allows for that pseudo on-demand mini vault discipline, you know, at a cooldown of 4 seconds. So I make it a habit of whenever I'm reaching 60 to 50% energy shield, just to go ahead and pop Enduring Cry. It's not something you have to do all the time, but you do get that reward. The chest piece and the Dodri's elixir combination alone is enough to sustain all my charges. I actually don't have to hit Enduring Cry. I only use it when I want more endurance charges, or if I'm like zoning into a boss fight and I need more endurance charges ASAP. And I know you guys are wondering, well, I can't afford Malagaros, what should I use? I would highly recommend using Face Breakers. I use those until level 84, and they have 60% global critical strike chance on the pair of gloves, and you can get them for a few C. Malagaros helps me with my offset, which is Dex. It also gives me a reliable crit chance, and it gives me attack speed for my whirling blades, and it gives me flat evasion. And I would also recommend Atziri Step, which are great boots for this build. Tons and tons of evasion, great life, maximum movement speed, spell dodge to help you deal with spell reflection and incoming damage, and they're not too crazy to get in challenge leagues. They're actually quite easy. You can also go crazy with some corruptions and try to fish for +1 and other cool things that you can get on that. The Restless Ward is really cheap in challenge leagues. In this previous pairing, they were an Alk or a Chaos. A good one with nice rolls probably will go for 1 to 3 C. It's crazy how cheap these things are going. And there's another unique that I'm using. It's called Atziri's Promise, and what this allows me to do is gain 15% elemental damage as extra chaos. So now I'm dealing 15% of my LE damage as chaos damage, and then that chaos damage is being leeched by 2%. The leech is pretty abysmal, but once you start scaling up damage you can notice it. And in the current state of the game, any leech you can get is gold. And we also can't forget that this flask gives me chaos resist cap, plus 35 to chaos resist. And the last unique I'm using is called the Rumi's Concoction, and this gives me armor, which isn't reduced by something like acrobatics, so I get the full amount of 3600. In addition, I get a lot of attack block and a lot of spell block. This is a pretty cheap flask compared to the Taste of Hate. Taste of Hate would give me max cold res, which would also help deal with reflection cases. Does this character die to reflect? No. Does reflect do some amount of damage? Yes. And I also use the life leech gem, which helps me face tank stuff and help deal with some of the reflection. I don't want to say issues because they're not really an issue. You can get away without doing it, but I like to be tanky overall in a hardcore league. And people ask me, well, if you're going to do this on softcore, what changes would you make? And mainly I would keep everything the same, other than changing out the life leech gem for hypothermia for more damage. And I know one of the scary things is you're like, what the hell? You're on a hardcore league, but you're only using 1 life flask? Yes, that is correct. I mean, I chose the Panicked Eternal Life Flask of Staunching, mainly because it does the heal over time, which will then give me immunity. So if I'm fighting a formidable corrupted blood character, and what I'll do is I'll take some damage, maybe 3 to 4 corrupted blood stacks, let myself get to 50 to 70%, then I would pop this potion so that I get the heal over time feature, and it will make me immune to any subsequent stacks that the mob was supposed to give me. If I ever get low, under the low life 35% threshold, then it gets me an instant flask, which gives me that burst healing. So there is some getting used to, you know, a multifunctional flask. Eternal Flask was chosen because it has the quickest amount of heal over time, and I do have quite a bit of HP, soon to be 6k, and with about a little over 3000 ES. And lastly, we want to talk about some of the jewels that I'm using. And if we're looking at Freeze Pulse in general, anything with crit multi, projectile speed, and life. Those are the things that I'm really looking for. Chill of Corruption is needed in this case because I use Vol Grace. Vol Grace is an on-demand aura that puts me at 33% dodge and spell dodge. And this is at level 19. So if I'm fighting a Beyond boss or any kind of scary situation, this is when I'll pop it. And I'll use Vol Stormcall just for clear speed sake, help get those preliminary preemptive shocks up so that when I'm going through, you know, packs and packs, I don't have to freeze pulse in one direction and then freeze pulse in another. Or if they have really tanky mods, it's just all around great for clear speed. Vol Stormcall, highly recommended. With all the chilling and freezing that I'm actually doing with Freeze Pulse, which I forgot to mention as part of my main defense, we are still able to achieve great clear speed. Now people ask me, why don't you use EK over Freeze Pulse? I played with EK for about a little over a month in the beta, and it was very good, very fun. And the reason why EK was so good was because not only could you use relatively like the same tree or the same defensive setups, but it was a cheap mana cost, and it didn't need crazy amount of mana multipliers to scale the damage. Whereas other skills such as Fireball, Arctic Breath, Ice Spear, and Ball Lightning were super expensive. I think Freeze Pulse and EK were the better choices. So out of Freeze Pulse and EK, like, what are the differences? Well, you can swap in Hypothermia with GMP and you can perma-freeze very difficult bosses in endgame maps. I've been successful in perma-freezing Megara and Piety, and there's a lot of value in that. Keeping everything frozen or perma-frozen, taking less damage. EK has great clear speed and great damage. If that's your thing, go for it. Physical Reflection is a little on the harsher side because you only really have Spell Dodge, Spell Block, Arctic Armor, and you don't have any armor unless you're popping a Taste of Hate or a Rumi's Concoction or a Granite Flask. I'll give you one last look at some of the jewels that I'm using that I forgot to show. But as you can see, these were all attained in the Tempest League, and they were quite good. I don't value the faster start of energy shield recharge that much because it's just not needed with a constant energy shield regen and the cooldown being so quick on its own. So that was just what I could get. As far as map mods, this can handle any map mods other than I wouldn't recommend doing Ellie Reflection maps. I've done minus max, no regen, half regen. That's the beauty of this too. You are constantly regenning energy shields, so you don't ever have to worry about your regen rate. You just step out of combat for a few seconds in a no regen map or run Vol Clarity instead of Vol Stormcall. I'm going to leave you guys with some gameplay footage of this character, and if you guys enjoyed this video, feel free to like and subscribe. If you guys want more detailed information about the whole leveling process, feel free to check out the progression videos of this character in other YouTube videos. I'll link that in the description also. But thank you guys for watching. Feel free to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video. What's up guys, it's time for some gameplay. I'm going to do a shrine map with Desecrated Ground, Totems, Turbo, Poison on Hit, Nemesis mod. I'm loaded up with GMP, Cold Pen, Freeze Pulse, Life Leech, Crit Damage, Spell Echo. In my helmet I have Curse on Hit, Assassin's Mark, Herald of Thunder, and Herald of Ice. This is a way for me to generate power charges automatically and apply the Assassin's Mark Curse. Chaos Golem, Purity of Elements, and a self-cast Assassin's Mark for when I need it. We have faster attacks, Fortify, and Whirling Blades for mobility and tankiness. We have Increased Duration, Vol Stormcall, Enduring Cry, and Vol Grace all in my gloves. And lastly, we have Arctic Breath, GMP, Casting Damage Taken level 1, and Arctic Armor. Arctic Armor does not have any interaction with this. As far as my skill tree and bandits, my bandits are Oak, Aramir, Oak, and where I would go on this skill tree, there are a couple options. I'll probably put the next point into spell damage, then I'll unspec out of that and put it into power charge. I also have another power charge here if I want it. And then after I get 3 points, I'll unspec out of the power charge and get Heart and Soul. These don't do anything for me in the mana regard, but once you get to that 8 life node, that averages out to over 5 each. This is a total of 16. So over 5 life, I think that's worth it. I'll probably leave this alone, and it'll probably put me at 6k HP. Without further ado, let's get mapping. For the Tooltip Warriors, my GMP Freeze Pulse is at 40.8k without Atziri's Promise. I believe it's like 49.5 with it. Oh, we'll see. I'm only getting Frenzy Charges through Dodre's Elixir and my chest piece. Well, the synergy between my chest and Dodre's. So Tooltip right now is 47k, 40.9. Popped 47k. I will be swapping for a hypothermia, as Vegan is just a single target fight. There's no point in having GMP perma-freezing him. Very, very easy. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys at the next video.